All right, guys, welcome into my official college football week 2 instant reaction recap where I go through all the ranked games. Let's kick it off. Georgia destroying Ball State. Ball State, they do end up covering plus 42 and a half. And you really got a feel for Ball State in this game. It was 0-0 going into the second quarter. Georgia kind of gets the sham punt return for a touchdown. But listen, give Ball State credit. They do cover. They are, however, 2-0 on the season. Georgia, very easy win, 45-3. They're not going to be dropping from number 1. Ohio State beating Youngstown State just 35 points against an FCS team. You really got to be worried about this Ohio State offense. They can't even drop a 40 burger on an FCS team. I mean, a 40 burger is like a mini burger. It's like a slider, and it's an FCS team. So, listen, Ohio State, I'm very concerned. Next week, it's a trap game against a good Western Kentucky offense, and then you've got Notre Dame on the road. Buckeyes' defensive line, really disappointing. Ohio State's QB, we'll see with McCord. I guess he looked fine. And then you also do have the problems with the offensive line. So 35 points against an FCS team, that's not going to get it done. Next, you have Penn State beating Delaware 63-7. Drew Aller seems like the best quarterback in the Big Ten, one of the best quarterbacks in the country right now. 60 burger for Penn State. They beat the FCS team there. I don't know what the spread was in this game, but I'm going to imagine they covered it. This is a very impressive win for Notre Dame for a number of reasons. Number one, you're dealing with the weather delay, and oh my goodness, today, I had said it before week 1. I was like, with the weather this year, it's going to affect college football severely, and then week 1 happens, there's really no delays or not that many. It was inconsequential, but this week it seems like so many games were delayed. This was a noon start time, and it was delayed multiple times, but Notre Dame, they were only up by a touchdown going into the fourth quarter. They pull away easily, and I don't think I'm crazy for saying right now I would pick Notre Dame to beat Ohio State at home in 2 weeks based off of what I've seen from these two teams. That's a decent win. Listen, NC State's nothing special. Brendan Armstrong really is just not a good quarterback anymore. But still, winning by 21, you're going into that game minus 7.5. Notre Dame looks really good. Great job in the transfer portal by Marcus Freeman, understanding that they didn't have a quarterback that was going to lead them to where they wanted to go and being proactive and getting the veteran leader in Sam Hartman. You've got Utah beating Baylor 20-13 in an absolute bore fest. This is an 11 a.m. Central start time. You had both starting quarterbacks out, Blake Sharpen not playing this game, and also Cam Rising still recovering, and I guess this is what you get. Listen, this Utah team, I'm guessing they probably finish 8-4. They just don't have the talent to hang with some of these Pac-12 teams. They do come back and win this game, but Baylor, remember, they lose to Texas State last week, winning this game. It's not that crazy of an achievement, but you do have to give them credit for coming back. They were sitting, I think they ended up -8, and they only win by 7, so they don't cover the spread there. You've got Kansas State over Troy. I'm just sick of hearing about Kansas State. I mean, with Kansas State, what they've done, the harassment, the death threats to me. It's disgusting. This university, it's completely out of line. I'm done talking about Kansas State. They end up beating Troy, but it's a complete joke, and it's totally uncalled for. And Kansas State, you want to run up the score on Troy. It's disgusting, and it should not be rewarded. Moving on to the next game, it's Colorado beating Nebraska 36-14, kind of a weird score. But Colorado, this game, very low scoring in the first half. You have to say, this is another impressive performance. Even though Colorado, Deion Sanders, they are becoming more and more annoying, this is a good win for them. Nebraska normally always plays close games. I thought Colorado would win, but I thought it would be closer, and clearly Colorado with the talent advantage. But I do still think they lack depth. Also, you've got the big noon Ponzi scheme, this game taking place at 10 a.m. I mean, guys, this game was kicking off, and the sun hadn't even risen. I'm not even kidding you. I was watching this game. I was like, why is it dark out? Oh my goodness, they're playing this game at like 5 a.m. in the morning in Boulder, Colorado because, they have to put it on Big Noon. They have to get the views with Deion Sanders. Big Noon is such a Ponzi scheme. It's such a joke. It is unwatchable. and Colorado ends up winning there. You've got Clemson destroying Charleston Southern. Guys, I think I'm a Clemson fan now because I am so sick and tired of hearing all the casual people, all the normies, oh my God, look at this, Charleston Southern is beating Clemson in the first quarter, ha ha ha. And then, of course, there's no context. These people don't understand that Charleston Southern got 2 ridiculously fluke touchdowns when they had 8 total yards. And guys, it's not even the 66-17 score. Look at the actual disparity. 37 first downs versus 4. Charleston Southern had 73 total yards, but no, the normal people and the people that really don't know what they're talking about, they're like, oh my God, Clemson is so bad, Charleston Southern is beating them. There's just no context to these people. They're making me a Clemson fan. People are making me, because it's just like, everyone just hates Clemson now, and I think at this point, it's just completely unoriginal. But guys, let's get to the 3:30 games. You've got Michigan over UNLV 35-7. They don't cover the spread. They were up 35-0, but a very similar performance by Michigan in week 2 as they were in week 1. Just workmanlike effort. Seems like they're not even trying. J.J. McCarthy, very efficient overall. Roman Wilson now. The dude's got 5 touchdowns on the year. Blake Corum had 3 touchdowns today. UNLV's a really bad team, though, and Michigan didn't even cover the spread. It is what it is. I'm sure they'll stay at number 2. You've got Ole Miss over Tulane. So I'm guessing Ole Miss, and I'm sure people will agree, they need to be unranked after this performance. Tulane did not have their Heisman-level quarterback, Michael Pratt. He was out the entire game, so they're forced to start a backup. This is Tulane. They don't recruit well. They needed their quarterback. They were in this game. Ole Miss, a very bad performance. People will say, oh, they beat a ranked team on the road. That's not what this is. That is not what this is at all. Tulane's only good player was out. So this win by Ole Miss, let's add the context to it, folks. Let's add the context to it. Next, you've got Miami in a really fun game over Texas A&M. Tyler Van Dyke, is he back in the Heisman race? What a performance. 374, 5 touchdowns. Big win for Miami football. They deserve to be ranked after this. Hopefully Cam Kitchens is okay. He's one of the top safeties in college football. He suffered a scary injury there at the end. And Texas A&M, all of that talent on their defensive line. Evan Stewart. Now, Evan Stewart did have a good game, 11 for 142, but they just have way too much talent to continue playing like this. I don't know what they're going to do. That program has a lot of money. This is not the end for them this year. 1-1, it's whatever, but losing to Miami, this is a game you were 4-point favorites in. Jimbo Fisher is already on the hot seat. He's got a massive buyout. But again, Texas A&M, they've got a lot of money. You could see them possibly getting rid of Jimbo if they do lose 4 or 5 games this year. You've got Washington over Tulsa, 43-10. So Washington does not cover the spread. They opened -36. They closed -34. They win by 33. Michael Penix Jr. continues his early season Heisman campaign, 409 passing yards after throwing for 450 last week. And Washington probably in moving inside the top 7, although we'll see, because I'm sure Texas is going to move up. But a very workmanlike effort for Washington at home, non-competitive game. You've got Tennessee. This is a brutal one, man. Tennessee barely beating Austin Peay, or I won't say barely beating them, but 30-13, and Austin Peay possibly could have scored there at the end. It could have been 30-20 against an FCS team. This is not a good sign. You do have to wonder, does Tennessee, if they lose or continue to struggle, do they start thinking about getting their true freshman superstar quarterback, Nico Lamanleva, reps? It's going to be huge for them. They might just have to say, listen, we've got to go to the true freshman. He might struggle early, but it's an investment into the future. You could have Lamanleva ready as a true sophomore and a junior to really get going, get him these reps now. We'll see if they end up doing that. They'll probably still start Joe Milton, but at some point you would have to consider it. But they end up winning that game. You've got North Carolina beating Appalachian State, so this is not a good Appalachian State football team at all. North Carolina came into this game -18, and they barely win in double overtime. Very strange. Drake May, 0 passing touchdowns, yet the 40 points. How about the running back? I got to give him a shout out. Hampton, 26 carries, 224, 3 touchdowns. But guys, what have I been saying? Even after North Carolina won the Battle of the Carolinas, this team is not very good. I'll be honest, I have been saying it's Drake May and no one else, and it's kind of an oxymoron considering Drake May had 0 touchdowns, but it's still, this is not a complete team. This is a team that's going to go 8-4, 7-5 in a weak ACC, although I don't know, the ACC is playing well right now against the SEC, and the SEC looks like the weak conference, but either way, that's just not a good performance for North Carolina. You'll get the normal people being like, yeah, Appalachian State's decent, and normally they're right, but this year Appalachian State analytically is not good at all. So this should have been a much bigger win for North Carolina. Next, you've got a weird one, Oklahoma, SMU. SMU, all of the hype. They only score 11 points. Preston Stone really struggles, only 250 yards. Dylan Gabriel, kind of interesting performance, 27 pass attempts, only 176 in terms of yardage, but the 4 passing touchdowns. Is that Andrell Anthony, the transfer from Michigan? Oh my goodness, he makes an appearance on the top leaders there. And a good performance by Oklahoma. They end up covering. This spread ended up closing, I think, at minus 15.5. And Oklahoma does cover that with a good defensive performance. That's a great sign. Brett Venables, that's a good SMU offense. So this Oklahoma team, I would think, should move inside of the top 15. The analytics absolutely love them. They're going to continue to love them after that performance. You've got Duke University. Has Duke peaked as a football program? This might be their peak right now. This is amazing. You've got Duke over the FCS upstart Lafayette 42-7. I want to say they covered, although I don't remember the exact line in this one. Riley Leonard, 12 of 12? That's an interesting line for 136 and a touchdown. You've got Walters for 112 and 2 touchdowns. Duke football should be entering the top 20 next week, I would surmise. Next, you've got the big game of the night. It is Texas beating Alabama. The little engine that could. Texas University, Quinn Ewers, the coming out party. You got to feel good for Texas. They finally get a big win. Very likely going to be moving into the top 5, I would guess, after this huge road win. Jalen Milroe, 2 catastrophic interceptions. You do got to feel bad for him. The center was just killing him with those low snaps. That's one of the things when you're watching games, you just got to cringe, when you constantly see those low snaps. But Alabama, they could not run the ball at all. Forced Jalen Milroe into a passer, and I was slightly disappointed in Jalen Milroe's scrambling abilities. It seemed like he really didn't want to take any hits. I thought he was more of a dual threat where he'd be like a Cam Newton and he could just bowl over people, and that didn't happen. In Texas, you have to give them credit. Steve Sarkisian being ultra aggressive early in this game, going deep, the home run ball to Xavier Worthy early, that completely opened up their offense. And really, it was like back and forth mid to late third quarter. This very easily could have been a game where Alabama takes control. That's why it's even more impressive that Texas ends up, countering the Alabama counterpunches and holds on and wins this game. They were pretty much in control this entire game, but I will say Texas did get several lucky bounces in terms of things not being ruled fumbles. Alabama had 2 touchdowns that were wiped off due to penalty. But either way, it's a very impressive win. Texas is going to move ahead of Ohio State. They're going to move ahead of Washington, all of those type teams, and possibly be like ranked 4th in the AP poll. And then Alabama possibly falling down to about 9th or 10th. Normally, Bama doesn't drop too far. And I still like Bama. I mean, you're going to get people with knee-jerk reactions. Everyone hates Alabama. I get it. But, it is a tough loss. But Texas is a good team. It is what it is. And then we've got this crap with Oregon. So this is the same stuff as last year with me and Oregon. I don't know what I've done to anger this fan base and anger these people. And it's just so unnecessary. What is going on with Oregon University? It was a tie game. Texas Tech was up. We all were in on it. Texas Tech plus the 6.5. It was a great value play. Yes, it looked like they were going to win. And it's just this Oregon, they go for 2 every time. I mean, it's a gimmick. It's crap. The collusion last year with Dan Lanning. I mean, can we suspend him or do something? Lord, please, at some point, this team has to be punished. And I try to do it every single year. I'm nice to this team. And every single year, they do the same crap and act just horrifically bad and completely inappropriate. and it's happened again with this Texas Tech game. So I'm just done with Oregon. I'm sick of it, and I think Texas Tech is a really good team. I don't know how they lost this game. I was looking analytically. Even the college football experts are coming to me and admitting, yes, Oregon, they're a fringe top 25 team. They shouldn't have won this game. The ball control, it was 97% Texas Tech. This is a luck rating of 93% for Oregon. 93% luck rating out of 100 in a scale from 0 to 100. That means Oregon is going to do horrible in terms of analytics. I think they're going to move down in terms of the polls, and it's just disgusting. You have no reason to cover this game. You're losing the entire game. And listen, I've tried to do it with Oregon. I'm done. When a kid acts bad over and over and over again, it's like fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. It is a horrible attitude. And you know what? At a certain point, a kid needs a spanking. And I think Oregon football legitimately needs a spanking right now. So this game is still going on. I do think LSU probably is going to drop an 80 burger. LSU legitimately could score 86 points, but I do have to get this video up. It is late at night. Jalen Daniels really going for that Heisman after the bad week 1 performance, 5 touchdowns. But at least Grambling is trying to win. What the problem that we're running into, and this has happened with Ohio State, and Ryan Day got really pissed off about it, teams are just trying to run the clock out now. Like, they're not even trying to win. They're just trying to sit on the ball, like convert 3 yards every play, have like a 25-yard drive take up 7 minutes, and at least Grambling's trying to throw. But I guess this is the result when an FCS team tries to throw the ball. The other team drops an 80 burger. And then we've got this. Now, this game is not over, so I don't want to say anything right now, but this is a really bad look for the Big Ten. So if Wisconsin loses this, I don't want to say anything because if they come back to win, I'm going to look really stupid. But my goodness, this is a bad. Luke Fickell can still turn it around. It's 1 loss, but they lost last year as 17-point home favorites against Washington State. Now they're 7-point road favorites, and they could lose again. That's just a terrible loss. I thought they were going to win that game. And then you do have a few more housekeeping games I'm going to get to. So the UC Davis game, I know that's one. Oh, I'll just quickly say Florida State destroying Southern Miss. That's actually a really impressive score right now. Early third quarter. How is that game moving at a snail's pace? Early third quarter. It's 11 o'clock at night. Did they have a lightning delay? Florida State up 45-3. They came into that game as 29-point favorites, so Florida State is really looking good. And then you do have Oregon State breaking in their brand new stadium renovations. They're sitting 38-0 on UC Davis. That's a blowout. They were only 23.5-point favorites against an FCS team coming into this game. That's early third quarter? Wow, they've already dropped 38 points. And then you do have the really late game that is just kicking off. Guys, this is how funny it is to be on the East Coast. So there's a game that's going to start in an hour. Well, technically when this video gets uploaded, it probably already started. There's a game kicking off at 11:59. What are we doing, folks? But the other game, USC is destroying Stanford. Well, I wouldn't say destroying. They're up 14-0. That's actually important because there's a lot of, sharps that were obsessed with Stanford in this game, plus 29.5. And that bet does not look good, at least early on. Oklahoma State, Arizona State's an interesting game. They're tied at 0, but that's not a ranked matchup. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.